Herzlich willkommen zu deinem Podcast Why Yoga for More Body, Mind and Soul Awareness. Schön, dass du eingeschaltet hast. Ich bin Jessica Dieterich und zusammen mit Isabel Panther steigen wir jeden Mittwoch tiefer in die Welt von Yoga ein. Heute geht es weiter in unserer exklusiven Podcast-Reihe, in der wir 3 Yogis zu den Themen Pandemie, Physical Distancing, Ängste und Stress interviewt haben. Mit dieser Reihe möchten wir dir zeigen, dass Ängste oder innere Unruhe in dieser ungewissen Zeit normal sind und jeder im Moment damit konfrontiert wird. Gleichzeitig geben wir dir wertvolle Yoga-Tipps an die Hand, wie du deinen Stress annehmen und damit arbeiten kannst. Im heutigen Interview befrage ich Suzanne aus Dublin zur aktuellen Corona-Lage in ihrem Land. Sie erzählt dir, wie sie trotz Physical Distancing ihre soziale Kontakte pflegt. Außerdem gibt sie dir ein paar Meditationstipps an die Hand und teilt mit dir ihre Gedanken zu dieser außergewöhnlichen Zeit und welche positive Effekte es hat. Dieses Interview war ein super interessantes Interview mit so viel gutem Input. Überzeuge dich gleich selbst davon. Diese Folge ist auf Englisch und auf YouTube findest du das Video zur Podcast-Folge mit deutschem Untertitel. Ich wünsche dir ganz viel Spaß. So, welcome Suzanne to our podcast, Why Yoga. I'm so happy that you're here and ready to answer questions. Yeah, let's start directly. I would like you to introduce yourself. Like, how would a friend describe you? Who are you?
God, it depends on what friend you're talking to, I suppose. I'm Suzanne Tierney. I'm Irish. I live in Dublin. I've been doing yoga for probably the best part of 20 years now, on and off. I have my moments. I just relocated back to Ireland after 10 years of living in the UK and the States. So it's an interesting time to relocate, given I haven't been able to see anybody for most of the time I've been back due to social distancing. What else do you want to know?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So you said it just, I want to tell the people that we know each other from our yoga teacher training in Bali. And yeah, it was an idea of Isa and me to just reach out to our yoga family and ask how they deal with this uncertain situation, the crisis. And yeah, it's like a global problem, I would call it now. And it's actually at the same time so beautiful that there's a problem everybody has, and it's making us like coming closer together, the world again, and thinking that we are one, right, in the world, and we are not separated. Well, and yeah, you said it, social distancing. How is the situation in Dublin?
Yeah, so it's been... Social distancing has been brought in over the last couple of weeks, and every couple of days it's been getting more and more strict, the rules. Last night, the Taoiseach, who's the leader of Ireland, he brought in the most stringent measures yet. So it is effectively a lockdown, although he chooses not to use those words. So you're not allowed out of your house except for essentials, so food, shopping and medicals. You are allowed to take exercise outdoors once a day, but you must do it alone and you must stay within a 2-kilometer radius. So it is quite prohibitive. But you know, it's a means to an end, and if it stamps this out, then it's, you know, it's just a small sacrifice we can all make for a short period of time. You know, as I was saying to you before, I've relocated. I was planning to be in my own house already, but I'm still camping in my folks' house due to the circumstances. But out of all of the places in the world, it's probably the best 2 kilometers I could be trapped in for the next few weeks, because we're right beside the beach and we're right beside the national parks. And thank God it's this time of year and it's not, you know, November, so the weather's picking up a little bit, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to your one of to your point, we all met in Paradise in November, December, and a group of people who didn't really know each other, and now we're being thrust into this madness after descending from Paradise. Nobody could have expected that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, what your background is, what you do. The whole situation's a great leveler because everybody's in the same boat. Nobody's better protected than anybody else, really. At the end of the day, nobody, the disease impacts everybody regardless of what you do, where you're from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true. And well, let's go to the topic yoga. Why did you start with yoga a couple of years ago, and what is driving you?
Yeah, so I've always had a fascination with India, particularly the Himalayas and northern India, and I've always just had a weakness for yoga. I've always been fascinated by it and by yogis, and I don't mean the flexible bendy yogis that for the type of training that we did, but the hardcore meditators who sit in caves and socially distanced permanently by choice.
True.
So I think that fascination just naturally led me to go and visit those countries and a lot of Southeast Asia, and I started off by just doing the odd class when I'd be traveling around and little bits and pieces and never really getting anywhere. I remember when I think it was in India, and we were learning how to do Warrior 2, and I thought it was the worst pose ever, and now it's just it's not a problem. But what really started me off doing it more regularly and really getting into it was when I finished uni. I took a year off and I traveled around the world, and then when I went back to Ireland, I was working in a bar, and I wasn't really feeling very well. Traveling for a year is amazing, like absolutely fantastic, but it does have a bit of a toll on your body. So my stomach wasn't great, and I was just feeling tired, and so I signed up to a yoga course around the corner from the bar where I was working, and there was a lady called Dee teaching, and I signed up to Mysore Yoga series. Now I didn't know what Mysore was, and when I turned up and I went to the class and everybody put down their mats, and then she just set up the metronome, so the thing started ticking so everybody would keep pace. They all just started doing the Ashtanga primary series, and I was just standing there going, what the hell is going on? And the Dee turned to me and she was just like, do you know what you've signed up for? This is Mysore. And I was saying, yoga. But no, this is, you're supposed to know what to do here. She's like, there's no instruction. You just do the primary series and everybody does it at their own pace. And I just walk around and I adjust people. And I was just a bit dumbfounded. I was like, all right. So she basically pulled out a couple of pieces of paper with the primary series printed on it by diagrams and pose name. And then she started going through the sequence with me. And then she said, I've got 2 weeks of help with her, but she's like, if you can't keep up or you don't make an effort, then you just got to go to a different studio. Like, this isn't for you. So I actually just started practicing it every day at home. And that was my first time self-practicing, which was really my first time studying yoga. And I came back to her and after the 2 weeks, she just said, wow, bloody hell, like I didn't expect you to still be here and to actually be able to do something. You're actually quite good and quite strong, so fair play. So I trained with her for a year. And, I had my own Mysore practice then already ingrained when I moved to London. And when I was in London, then I just, I found a teacher called Tammy Jones. Mm-hmm. And she was teaching in some like a town hall or something, like a not a fancy pants studio at all, and it'd be freezing and dark in the winter, and then she'd bang on the heat lamps around the room to try and make us warm enough. But that was the first time I did proper flow classes, dynamic flow that would change all the time. and she would have really good music, real like East End kind of dubstep music, and that was just phenomenal. That was really when I actually started to fall in love with it. And then I, from Tammy, I just kept moving further east in London. So I'd go to Tammy on Tuesday and Thursday, but then Carl and Sophie and Brendan from Broadway area, they set up stretch yoga, and I just used to go to their classes. I was just there from the start. I used to go when I was doing my exams, my tax exams. For my break, I'd go up with my unlimited pass, and I'd probably go 2 or 3 times a day, just to, kind of a bit like now, just to break up the day. And then I just became quite friendly with them, and that was a real yoga community. It was the first time I'd been in such a yoga community. Everybody would go to the 6 o'clock class on Friday, and then the 7 o'clock class would be flight school, so it would be upside down stuff or training to get upside down. And we would stay there for hours, just way longer than any class needed to be, just because everybody loved it. And then everybody would go for a few drinks afterwards, and it was just great fun. I really miss that. That's exactly what I'd love to find here.
Amazing story. Yeah, it's like you have a lot of experiences in different styles, right? And which style are you practicing right now for yourself?
So it depends on my mind frame and how organized I am. If I have time to think about what I want to do, then I'll set up a class, but I'll know where I want to go at the start, roughly. Things always change when you start practicing, but it's always dynamic flow. If I'm really tired and I just don't really feel like practicing at all, then I just go back to Ashtanga, because I know it so well. And it's one of those things that if I get through the sun salutations at the start, by the time that I've got through them, then I forget that I didn't want to start practicing at all. And it's grand. But if I'm in a good mood and I'm looking forward to practice, or just feel like moving or stretching, then you can just go free flow and dynamic. But then from time to time, I'll just re-sign up to an app if I say, like, I want to listen to Megan or to Claire Missingham, who I did my first teacher training. I just try and find somebody online who I love their practice and just do one of theirs.
Yeah, cool. Very nice. And let's go back to this situation we're right now. Like what are you doing to keep centered, to deal with that situation that you should keep the social distancing, and even more because it's breaking your plans, right? You wanted to socialize now.
No, I know. I think that I'm quite lucky. I think, I'm one of the people who are still working, so and my work is quite demanding in terms of time and how much energy you put into it. So literally by the time I finish work and take the dogs for a walk, I'm pretty exhausted. I'm ready for bed. So during the week it hasn't, if anything, it's been quite helpful for me because I haven't commute and I get more done when I'm in silence. I think as well, quite luckily, I don't mind being on my own. In fact, if anything, I'm a bit selfish and would enjoy being on my own. I was talking to one of my friends the other day as well, and we've both done Vipassanas, so where you sit on your own for effectively 10 days for 13 hours of meditation. We think that sets you up quite well for this situation, because you just you've done it before, you come out on the other side, if anything, probably stronger.
True.
I think what I'm, as I say, during the week, it's not a problem for me because I've got so much to do. At the weekends, like today, what I'll do after this is I'm going to make a list of all the things that I need to do or I've wanted to do. Like, think how many things that you always say you would want to do if you have more time, like make me yoga playlists. Like, I've got all these songs that I want to put into a playlist and mix in, so they're seamless. There's 2 or 3 of those that I want to do, because I only ever use 2 or 3 playlists at a time anyway. Think about all those photo books of all those adventures that you've been on that you need to print, all those kind of things. So that's just what I'm trying to do, try and get organized for all those things that I keep saying that I want to do but never do. I also want to make some teaching plans as well, so I want to actually set out some practices and use it to really play around with them again and again, like maybe do 1 a week on back bends or shoulders, and just keep doing the same practice every day for that week till you refine the music to go with it, because I think that will be kind of fun. But yeah, and then in terms of socializing, I found this app called House Party, which I'm finding quite hilarious. It's
this one.
yeah, it's like last night was great crack. You know, everyone just got a bottle of wine after work, and there was loads of different parties going on, so you could jump into one conversation and then go, oh, hey, I'm going to go and talk to these guys. And just, you know, it's great because you're catching up with people from like everywhere, because you know, I've got friends in all different countries all over the world, and it's just great crack. Yeah, being able to have that time to reconnect.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it's like my boyfriend is using it a lot right now. And I'm like, maybe I should download this app soon.
It's really, really good, because you see, you can see everybody who's using it online.
Yeah.
And you can see who's in each room, each chat room. So you can kind of have a gauge on whether, you know, it's appropriate for you to join or not. Obviously, you can lock it if you don't want people to join. So. I think it's good fun. And then when you're done, you don't have to get a taxi home. You literally just fall into bed.
Yeah, good point. After 1 bottle of wine.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That was the problem. 1 bottle.
So you mentioned the 10 days meditation on your own, when you're locked and you're not allowed actually to talk to anybody else. You have 3 takeaways for our listeners that feel like they are locked and they cannot talk to anybody right now, from your experience?
From that, I mean, that's quite hard to, because it's such a personal journey. Everybody's will be slightly different. I would encourage everybody to spend some time every day, you know, meditating. I think the best way to do it is to set timers on your iPhone or whatever, for starting at 2 minutes to 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You'd be surprised how quickly that time runs out when you actually just sit there. I think one of the misconceptions about meditation is that you're supposed to reach this euphoric state. I don't think that, and I think that's why a lot of people are put off or scared of it. But, you know, it's really just sitting down, taking stock of exactly where you are. So, and so, you know, once you can dispel that desire to try and be somewhere else, it's just quite interesting. The way that I'd focus my mind is literally just sitting upright, sitting still, and focusing on the breath, but not changing it. So spending a lot of time just watching how your breath falls, how deep or how shallow it is, whether it's warm air, cold air, and particularly how it hits the triangle from your nose to your mouth. Because the longer you can sit there and just keep focusing on that and have nothing change, it's the sensations can be quite intense. So, and it's something to focus on when you're struggling to keep to be present. So
amazing. So is your tip for people who are at home, they don't know what to do with their life, to take the time for themselves and meditate and try to calm their mind by meditation, or you have more tips?
I mean, I think only meditate if you want to meditate, because I think that I think a lot of people aren't ready to meditate, or it's not the right time for them to do it. And I think that the only thing that would be worse than being trapped inside if you're already agitated is trying to do something that you can't relax into. So why would you add more stress to a stressful situation?
True.
I think that, you know, to bring it back to the initial point, this whole situation is a great leveler. It's everybody's in the same boat and everybody's feeling a bit trapped and probably has nothing to do. I think everyone should use the time to be creative. That doesn't mean somebody needs to go and, you know, paint or draw or whatever, but all of the skills that people have forgot to do because they've been so used to globalization and doing whatever easy fixes. You know, people should start cooking again, or people should start, you know, tidying their house, or, you know, just changing things up to make things look prettier, better. It's a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, personally, I've been just spending my time doing things like making sure I cook delicious dinners rather than order takeaways every night of the week. Or, you know, if you're working, you tend to go and buy a 20-minute baked lasagna or something like that, but actually making my own now, those kind of things. And it's just, you know, it's much more delicious when you do it yourself, and it's something that passes the time.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it happens to me that I'm coming back to healthy routines again, you know, like really thinking well on what do I want to cook today, or I don't know, how do I want to start my day today? Yeah, it's actually nice to just get back to what you really want and not be driven by anybody else who is telling you, wow, you need to be there.
Well, that's it. Like, it's just, I think it's obviously all of the illness and the death, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's a good thing at all. Like, that's awful, and we need to, but I think the whole situation is Mother Earth just shaking it all up and getting people to have a look at how they're living right now as well. Because, you know, the spread of this disease and how it's all happened is really down to the way people are living these days, and consumerism. And, you know, I've been in the heart of that, especially when I was in the States. You know, you're literally flying around the place. Everybody thinks that what they're working on is the most important thing in the world. There's just loads of egos around. And, you know, this kind of event just wipes all of that out because they can't fly anymore. It doesn't matter if you've got an ego, you know what I mean? You still need to use hand sanitizer too. It's just, so I think that there's a lot of positives that will come out of this. I think that there's going to be a massive change in the way society works coming out of this. I think it will shape the way people work and the way people act. I think the thing that's probably the scariest is that all of the social distancing might prevail. You know, people might get fearful of close contact after and not want to be around each other, or not want to be touched, or not want to touch. And I think that that's the thing that people, you know, the governments, to be honest, in my mind, have to start thinking about that and start putting stuff out there about that already, because you know, it's not a world I want to live in if everybody's not going to want to go for a pint or you know, be just in a yoga class going forward.
Yeah, I thought about it as well. Let's see, we don't know how long this is going to be, right? We just keep up with our own work.
I know. That's it. Like, it's just not clear at all. I can't see it ending before the summer, really, though.
Yeah. Well, that means more time for ourselves to practice mindfulness, yoga, or whatever is in our mind to create.
Well, like, you know, there's many of my friends are actually just quite enjoying the whole situation. which is, which is great right now. Like at work, there was a webinar yesterday, and they said that apparently it's still a bit honeymoon phase here, though. It's in 2 or 3 weeks' time that people will actually start to suffer anxiety and suffer with mental health issues. So, while everything is rosy now, and I'm speaking quite positively about it based on my experiences, I am mindful of the fact that this is really just the tip of the iceberg. And once it starts getting into 5, 6, 8 weeks, then people will really start to suffer if they don't have something to focus on. Yeah,
so true. Is there anything that you recommend people that helped you a lot? For example, any book, any person, or I don't know, any podcast or music? What can you share that is helping you?
Oh God! I mean, that's I think the most important thing is, I think, finding a yoga teacher is a bit like finding a hairdresser. You've got to go through a number of them until you find the one that fits you. And then, you need to change it up every so often as well. I think that it's quite important that to have music during yoga. For me, it just makes the yoga practice, and that music has to be really good. Like, there's nothing worse than going somewhere with bad music. I probably wouldn't be the most traditional of yogis in the type of music that I'd play. I'd play a lot of Jamie XX, the XX, LCD Sound System, and Nicholas Jar. But I think that was very much influenced by my time in London. Mm-hmm. And, when I hear any of those songs, it just makes me want to stretch. So.
Very cool. I mean, you mentioned that you're going to make some playlists, right?
Yeah.
So we can put them in the show notes if people are liking what you like.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think, to be fair, I think, I would be happy to share them assuming I get around to doing it.
Yeah, no worries.
No, I think, though, to be serious, I think the people who've influenced my yoga would be Dee, because obviously she was my first yoga teacher, then Tammy and Brendan and Carl from Stretch London, and Morgan as well, although she didn't teach me as much. Well, Morgan and Lucy, we were all part of the same crew who just practiced all of the time. And Morgan and Lucy are now teachers as well. And Lucy owns another yoga studio called Yoke in Dalston in London, which is fabulous. So I think they would probably all have been the biggest yoga influencers for me. Oh, and obviously Claire Mercingham and Megan Curry, who are the two teachers who I went to their trainings. Yeah. They're like the yoginis, there.
Yeah, true. Cool. So I think you've got a lot of tips already for our listeners. And is there anything else you want to add?
I don't know. Just stay safe, everybody.
Yeah,
Make the most of us.
True.
Don't get too bad eating bad food.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for this interview.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for hosting.
And thank you, listeners, for listening.